The call came at 3:17 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Mrs. Chen, I'm Dr. Williams from Phoenix Children's Hospital. Your daughter Emma has been in an accident. You need to come immediately. Emma, my 7-year-old sunshine, my brilliant little artist who drew pictures of us as superhero princesses, who made me Mother's Day cards with crooked letters and perfect love, the child I'd fought 3 years of fertility treatments to have, who'd made every struggle worthwhile the moment she placed her tiny hand in mine. By 6:23 a.m., she was gone. A drunk driver running a red light. My baby girl, who'd been walking to her friend's house 2 blocks away, was gone forever. What I discovered while drowning in the worst grief imaginable was that my family could make even this tragedy about my golden child sister. What I did with that knowledge would sever family ties that 34 years of loyalty couldn't repair. My name is Dr. Lily Chen, and I'm a 34-year-old pediatric oncologist at Phoenix Children's Hospital. For 8 years, I've helped families navigate their worst nightmares when their children face cancer. I understood medical crises, family trauma, and how to provide support during the unthinkable. I never imagined I'd need those skills to survive my own family's cruelty during the darkest moment of my life. The professional training that made me excellent at guiding families through childhood cancer was about to make me surgical in cutting toxic relatives from my existence permanently. Emma died on Tuesday morning. By Wednesday, I was drowning in grief so profound that breathing felt like a betrayal of her memory. My husband, David, and I sat in our empty house, staring at her artwork covering the refrigerator, her backpack by the door, her favorite stuffed elephant still warm on her unmade bed. The call from Mom came Thursday afternoon while I was meeting with the funeral director. "Lily, honey, I know this is terrible timing, but we need to talk about Saturday." Saturday? Emma's funeral was scheduled for Saturday at 2 p.m. What about Saturday, Mom? "Well, your sister Jennifer got engaged last night. Can you believe it? After 5 years, Brad finally proposed. We're throwing a surprise engagement party Saturday at 4 p.m., and we really need your help planning it." I stared at my phone, wondering if grief had somehow affected my hearing. "Mom, Emma's funeral is Saturday afternoon." "I know, sweetheart, but the funeral will be over by 3:30, and the party doesn't start until 4. It's perfect timing. Jennifer has been waiting so long for this moment, and you know how important it is for the family to show support." The funeral director looked at me with professional concern as I gripped the phone with trembling hands. "You want me to go from my daughter's funeral to an engagement party?" "Lily, I understand you're grieving, but life goes on. Jennifer needs her family right now. This is her special moment, and she's been looking forward to celebrating with everyone." I hung up without another word. That evening, David found me in Emma's room, holding her favorite book while tears soaked the pages we'd read together every night for 2 years. "Your mother called the house phone," he said gently. "She wants to know if you'll contribute $5,000 for the engagement party catering. She said since you and I both have good jobs in medicine, we should help make Jennifer's day special." The audacity was breathtaking. 3 days after losing Emma, they wanted me to fund my sister's celebration that was deliberately scheduled immediately after my child's funeral. That night, through my grief haze,
I began to see the pattern I'd been too accommodating to notice for 34 years. Jennifer, 18 months younger than me, had always been the family's golden child. While I studied for the MCATs, they celebrated her art history degree. While I completed pediatric residency working 80-hour weeks, they threw elaborate parties for her gallery assistant position. When I published research on childhood leukemia treatments, it was overshadowed by Jennifer's promotion to gallery manager. Every family gathering centered around Jennifer's achievements, relationships, and needs. My medical career was treated as a convenient funding source for her lifestyle, not an accomplishment worth celebrating. But this, expecting me to bankroll an engagement party on the day I buried my daughter, crossed a line I didn't know existed.
Friday morning, I made 3 calls that would reshape my relationship with them forever. First, I called Patricia Williams, the estate planning attorney who'd helped me establish Emma's college fund that would now become something entirely different. Patricia, I want to establish a memorial foundation in Emma's name for childhood cancer research. I'm liquidating all family financial commitments to fund it. All family commitments? Patricia clarified. Including your parents' mortgage assistance and your sister's credit card payments? Everything. Every automatic payment, every loan guarantee, every financial safety net I've provided, it all stops today. The foundation would honor Emma's memory by funding research into the diseases I fought professionally. My family's entitlement would not be part of her legacy. Second, I called Jennifer directly. Jen, I won't be attending your engagement party tomorrow. I'll be mourning my daughter. Lily, I understand you're sad, but Emma wouldn't want you to miss my special day. We've been planning this for weeks. You've been planning an engagement party during the week I'm planning my child's funeral? We didn't know about the timing. Besides, the funeral is in the afternoon and the party is in the evening. There's plenty of time for both. I hung up on her too.
Third, I called the funeral home and upgraded Emma's service to include a private reception afterward, paid for with money that would have gone to Jennifer's party. Emma deserved a beautiful goodbye, not a rushed ceremony so the family could celebrate my sister's engagement. Saturday morning, I dressed Emma in her favorite purple dress with the dinosaur pattern she'd loved, placed her stuffed elephant beside her, and said goodbye to the most important person in my life. The funeral was beautiful. David's colleagues from the hospital attended. My pediatric oncology team sent a massive arrangement shaped like a rainbow, Emma's favorite thing to draw. Families of former patients, children whose lives I'd helped save, filled the chapel with genuine love and support. My parents attended, checking their watches repeatedly. Jennifer came but kept whispering to Mom about party preparations. At one point during the eulogy, I saw Jennifer texting on her phone. After we lowered Emma's small casket into the ground, Mom approached me at the cemetery. That was a lovely service, dear. Now, about the engagement party. We really need you there. Jennifer's been so excited to celebrate with her big sister. I stared at my mother, dirt from my daughter's grave still on my shoes, and felt something fundamental break inside me. No. No. I won't be attending Jennifer's party, I won't be funding it, and I won't be pretending that my daughter's death is less important than my sister's engagement. Mom's face flushed. Lily, don't be selfish. This is Jennifer's moment. Emma is gone, but Jennifer's future is just beginning. The cruelty of that statement, spoken over my child's fresh grave, would replay in my mind for months. David stepped beside me, his arm protective around my shoulders.
I think we should leave now. As we walked away, I heard Mom calling. Lily, you're being dramatic. Jennifer needs her family. The engagement party happened without us. According to social media posts I saw later, it was elaborate and well attended. Apparently, they'd found other funding sources. What followed was a campaign of guilt and manipulation that revealed the true depth of my family's dysfunction. Mom called daily for 2 weeks, alternating between worry about my mental state and anger about my abandonment of Jennifer during her engagement period. Jennifer is heartbroken that you missed her party. She's your sister, Lily. Family comes first. Emma was family too. She was my daughter. That's different. Emma is with God now. Jennifer needs support for her wedding planning. Dad showed up at the hospital where I worked, causing a scene in the pediatric ward until security escorted him out. You can't punish Jennifer for Emma's accident. Life is for the living. My colleagues were horrified. Dr. Martinez from pediatric surgery pulled me aside afterward. Lily, if you need extended bereavement leave, we completely understand. What your father just did, that's not normal family behavior during grief.
But the worst came from Jennifer herself, who sent a series of texts that would permanently end our relationship. You're being selfish, making everything about Emma. I know you're sad, but my engagement is important too. Emma wouldn't want you to ruin my happiness. She'd want you to be a good sister. You've always been jealous of me. Now you're using your dead daughter as an excuse to make my engagement about you. I screenshot every message, then blocked her number permanently. 3 weeks after Emma's funeral, I made the most important decision of my healing journey. I contacted Dr. Sarah Thompson, a grief counselor who specialized in traumatic child loss and family dysfunction. Dr. Thompson's office was designed for healing. Warm lighting, comfortable chairs arranged in a circle rather than across a desk, and soft textures that invited vulnerable conversation. As a pediatric oncologist, I understood the neuroscience of trauma, but experiencing it required different expertise. Tell me about your support system, she said during our first session, starting with strength rather than deficits. I described David's unwavering presence, my medical colleagues' understanding, the genuine condolences from patient families. Then, I explained my family's response, the engagement party timing, the financial demands, the dismissive text messages. What you're describing is called disenfranchised grief, Dr. Thompson explained. It occurs when your social network doesn't recognize or validate your loss. For parents who lose children, this can compound trauma significantly. She showed me research on grief support systems, helping me understand that my family's response wasn't just hurtful, it was clinically recognized as harmful to recovery. Your medical training actually gives you advantages in processing this, she continued. You understand that healing requires specific interventions, measurable progress, and sometimes surgical removal of harmful elements. Over 6 months of weekly sessions, Dr. Thompson taught me evidence-based strategies for managing grief while protecting myself from additional trauma. We used cognitive behavioral therapy techniques to reframe guilt, EMDR to process the accident trauma, and family systems therapy concepts to understand the dysfunction patterns.
Losing a child activates every protective instinct parents possess. When your family showed you cruelty during this vulnerable time, your brain correctly identified them as threats to your emotional survival. The therapeutic framework helped me understand that cutting contact wasn't vindictive, it was medically necessary for psychological safety. 6 months after Emma's death, I received an invitation that crystallized everything wrong with our family dynamic. Jennifer's wedding invitation, embossed in gold, for a ceremony scheduled on Emma's birthday. They'd chosen my dead daughter's birthday for my sister's wedding. I called Mom immediately. "Did you realize what date you chose for Jennifer's wedding?" "Of course. September 15th works perfectly for everyone's schedules." "It's Emma's birthday." Silence. Then, "Oh, well, maybe this will give you something positive to associate with that day." The callousness was stunning. They'd taken the one day each year that would forever belong to Emma's memory and made it about Jennifer's celebration. That night, I wrote a letter that would sever our relationship permanently. To my family, Emma died 6 months ago today. Instead of supporting me through the worst grief imaginable, you've treated her death as an inconvenience interfering with Jennifer's celebrations. You scheduled an engagement party immediately after her funeral. You demanded I fund celebrations while I planned my daughter's burial. You minimized my loss to prioritize Jennifer's happiness. You chose my child's birthday for Jennifer's wedding. These aren't the actions of people who love me. They're the actions of people who see me as a resource to be managed, not a person to be supported. I'm establishing permanent boundaries. I will not attend Jennifer's wedding. I will not provide financial support for family events. I will not maintain relationships with people who showed me cruelty during my darkest hour. The Emma Chen Memorial Foundation will honor my daughter's memory through childhood cancer research. That work, helping other families facing pediatric illness, is where my energy belongs, not with people who couldn't show me basic compassion when I buried my child. Don't contact me again. Dr. Lily Chen.
I sent copies to each family member and blocked all their phone numbers. The responses delivered through mutual relatives ranged from anger to disbelief. Apparently, I was punishing the family for trying to keep everyone's spirits up during a difficult time. Even in cutting me off, they couldn't acknowledge that losing Emma was more than a difficult time. It was a life-altering tragedy that deserved their support, not their resentment for interfering with party planning. Memorial Foundation Impact and Medical Community Support. Dr. Martinez found me in the research lab 6 months later, holding a report that would validate every painful decision I'd made. Dr. Martinez found me in the research lab 6 months later, holding a report that would validate every painful decision I'd made. Lily, the Emma Chen Memorial Foundation's first research grant has produced remarkable results. The pediatric oncology team at Johns Hopkins used our funding to develop a new treatment protocol for acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Early trials show a 34% improvement in survival rates. I stared at the research data, seeing Emma's legacy in every statistical improvement, numbers that represented children who would live because she couldn't. There's more, Dr. Martinez continued. UCLA wants to partner with us for a multi-center trial.
the National Institutes of Health is considering matching our research funding. Emma's foundation is becoming a major force in pediatric cancer research.
The foundation had grown beyond my initial $200,000 investment. Medical colleagues across the country had contributed after learning about Emma's story. Patient families had helped over the years, sent donations with notes like, "Dr. Chen helped us when our child had cancer. Now we want to help hers." Within a year, the Emma Chen Memorial Foundation had awarded $850,000 in research grants to 7 pediatric cancer centers. The work was saving lives, tangible, measurable impact that honored her memory more meaningfully than any family gathering ever could. Professional community recognition. The medical community's response to my family's dysfunction was swift and supportive in ways that surprised me. During our monthly pediatric department meeting, Dr. Williams, our chief of staff, addressed the elephant in the room directly. As healthcare professionals, we understand that family crises can either strengthen or expose relationship dynamics. When Dr. Chen faced every parent's worst nightmare, her family's response was not just unsupportive, it was actively harmful to her recovery. She pulled up research on adverse family responses during grief. Studies show that disenfranchised grief, when loss isn't validated by one's social network, can extend normal bereavement by months or years. Dr. Chen's decision to protect herself from additional trauma during recovery isn't personal vindictiveness. It's medically sound self-care.
Dr. Rodriguez from pediatric surgery nodded. I've seen similar patterns. Families who exploit medical professionals during crises often view us as resources rather than people with our own needs. The validation was overwhelming. These colleagues understood that my professional expertise in crisis management had guided me toward healthy boundary setting, not revenge. Educational framework for healthcare professionals. 3 months later, Dr. Thompson approached me with an unexpected opportunity. "Lily, I've been contacted by the American Academy of Pediatrics. They want you to co-develop a continuing education module on family dysfunction during medical crises. Your case illustrates how healthcare professionals can apply clinical reasoning to personal trauma." The module we created, "When Families Fail, Protecting Healthcare Workers from Dysfunction During Personal Crisis," became mandatory training for pediatric specialists nationwide. It taught medical professionals to recognize signs of disenfranchised grief and family exploitation, apply clinical boundary setting skills to personal relationships, understand when family loyalty becomes medically harmful, use professional support networks during personal trauma. Your experience is helping thousands of healthcare workers protect themselves from similar exploitation, Dr. Thompson explained. That's another way Emma's legacy is saving people.
When Michael was born 18 months later, David and I had developed comprehensive protection strategies based on my clinical expertise and therapeutic insights. No one who showed us cruelty during our darkest hour will have access to our children, I told Dr. Thompson during our final session. This isn't vindictiveness, it's pediatric protection. We'd learned that toxic family members often escalate dysfunction when new children arrive, using grandchildren as leverage for renewed contact. Our prevention plan included legal documentation of my family's harmful behavior during bereavement, clear directives to daycare and schools about authorized pickup persons, social media privacy settings preventing family from accessing information about Michael, prepared explanations for Michael about why some relatives weren't in our lives. Children deserve to be surrounded by adults who understand that love includes protection, Dr. Thompson observed. Your clinical training is helping you provide that protection. Long-term outcomes and professional growth. 2 years after Emma's death, I was invited to speak at the International Conference on Pediatric Bereavement. My presentation, When Medical Professionals Lose Children, Applying Clinical Skills to Personal Trauma, received a standing ovation from 1,200 healthcare providers worldwide. The research was clear. Medical professionals who lost children had better long-term outcomes when they applied their clinical reasoning to personal relationships, setting boundaries based on therapeutic principles rather than cultural expectations about family loyalty.
Dr. Chen's case demonstrated professional expertise can guide personal healing, the conference organizer noted. Her family's dysfunction was correctly diagnosed and treated through systematic intervention. The Emma Chen Memorial Foundation had grown to support 12 research centers, funding breakthrough treatments that had saved an estimated 67 children's lives. The foundation's annual report included photos and stories from families whose children survived because of research Emma's legacy had funded. Each saved life validated every difficult decision I'd made during the darkest period of my existence. Emma's death had created unbearable pain, but the foundation built from that pain was preventing other families from experiencing similar loss. Standing in my new office at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where I'd been recruited to head their new department of pediatric crisis intervention, I looked at Emma's portrait surrounded by thank you cards from families whose children were alive because of her foundation's work. The little girl who loved drawing superhero princesses had become a different kind of superhero, one whose legacy fought childhood cancer and whose story taught healthcare professionals to protect themselves from exploitation during crisis. My family had expected me to minimize my grief to accommodate their celebrations. Instead, I'd transformed that grief into a force that was literally saving children's lives while protecting other medical professionals from similar family dysfunction.
That felt like the most important medical intervention I'd ever designed, turning devastating loss into systematic protection for the most vulnerable, grieving parents and sick children who deserved better than exploitation during their worst moments. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Lily, this is Jennifer. I know you blocked me, but I wanted you to know that we had a beautiful wedding. I'm sorry you missed it. I'm pregnant now, and I'd like our children to know their aunt. Can we please talk?" I deleted the message without responding. The woman who'd called my daughter's death an excuse for jealousy, who'd scheduled her wedding on Emma's birthday, who'd shown me profound cruelty during grief, that person would never meet any future children I might have. 2 years later, David and I decided to try for another child through IVF. The decision was complex, filled with hope and terror in equal measure. Emma could never be replaced, but love wasn't finite. Our hearts had room for another child while still belonging completely to her. During the fertility process, Mom somehow obtained my new phone number and called. "Lily, I heard through your cousin that you're trying to have another baby. That's wonderful. Maybe this will help you move past Emma and focus on the future."
Move past Emma? The phrase was like acid. She was my daughter, not a phase to get over. You know what I mean. A new baby will give you something positive to focus on instead of dwelling on sadness. I hung up and immediately changed my number again. The IVF process was successful. Our son Michael was born healthy and perfect, with Emma's dark eyes and David's gentle smile. Holding him for the first time, I felt joy I thought was impossible after losing her. But more importantly, I felt protective. This child would never know the relatives who'd shown his parents cruelty during their darkest hour. He would never be exposed to people who valued celebrations over compassion, who treated family members as resources rather than individuals deserving love and support. At Michael's first birthday party, held in our home with friends and chosen family, I raised a toast to Emma's memory. Her framed photo set prominently on the mantel, her stuffed elephant beside it, her artwork still covering our refrigerator. To Emma, I said to the gathered friends, medical colleagues, and neighbors who'd become our true family. To Emma, who taught us that love transcends death, and that protecting those we love sometimes means protecting them from people who call themselves family. The applause was gentle, understanding. These people had supported us through loss, celebrated our healing, and welcomed our new beginning without expecting anything in return except the same support when they needed it.
Michael would grow up knowing he had a sister who watched over him, surrounded by adults who understood that genuine family love means showing up during the hardest moments, not just the celebrations. As for my biological family, they'd made their choice when they prioritized an engagement party over a child's funeral. I'd made mine when I chose people who understood that grief deserved respect, not management. The skills that made me an effective pediatric oncologist had helped me diagnose the dysfunction and surgically remove it from our lives. Some relationships couldn't be saved, just like some illnesses couldn't be cured. The difference was that family dysfunction was a choice. Cancer wasn't. I chose healing. I chose protection. I honored Emma's memory by surrounding her brother with people who understood that children, living and deceased, deserved more than being inconveniences to adult celebrations. That felt like the most important medical decision I'd ever made, cutting out the toxicity so healthy love could flourish in its place.